A brave gnome with the keenest eye, a loyal shrub with the sharpest wit, and a merry tune carried on the wind. Milo and Gooseberry blazed the trails again. Milo Pierce, accompanied by his trusty awakened shrub companion, Gooseberry, the clever and daring trailblazer who leads the way for discovery and adventure in the uncharted wilderness. Return with us now to those thrilling journeys of yore. Milo and Gooseberry ride the trails once more.
Milo Pierce adjusted his pack as he and Gooseberry made their way along the dusty dirt trail winding through the rugged hills of the wildlands. The terrain was harsh, rocky plains dotted with tough, gnarled trees, but the gnome's sharp eyes scanned the path ahead with ease. Beside him, Gooseberry, the animated shrub, rustled faintly as he walked, blending seamlessly with the sparse vegetation. Ahead on the trail, a group of travelers came into view. A gleaming unicorn led the way, its coat shimmering like fresh fallen snow in the midday light. Beside it walked three robed figures, each carrying carved staves marked with twin serpents winding toward wings. As Milo and Gooseberry approached, the unicorn raised its head and regarded them with intelligent eyes. Its voice, calm and resonant, filled their minds. "Greetings, travelers," the unicorn said telepathically. "I am Mælmon, leader of the Unicorn Parcel Service. My companions and I travel these lands in service to Hermes, delivering goods and spreading news to the good people that dwell here. I sense you are no strangers to danger, and perhaps fortune has guided you to cross our path. We are in need of aid." Milo nodded, interested in the unicorn's story. "What kind of trouble?" Mælmon explained. Several hours earlier, their group had been ambushed by a band of ruffians, mercenaries and thieves by the look of them. Though Mælmon and the clerics had put up a fight, the attackers outnumbered them, and the ruffians used a trained blink dog to snatch their precious cargo, an alchemy jug. The group had no choice but to retreat, using Mælmon's magic to escape. "That alchemy jug is destined for the town of Desperado," Mælmon continued, his voice tinged with regret. "The jug was meant to aid their food stores, and its loss will be felt deeply." Gooseberry's leaves trembled thoughtfully. "You mentioned Desperado?" he asked. "It's not far from here, is it?" "Indeed," Mælmon replied. "We were on our way there to seek help when we encountered you. Will you aid us in recovering the jug?" Milo exchanged a look with Gooseberry. The two had faced their share of challenges, but the desperation in the unicorn's tone made the decision an easy one. "Of course," Milo said, adjusting the strap of his quiver. "Lead the way." The town of Desperado sat on a low hill, a cluster of weathered timber frame buildings surrounded by scattered orchards and rolling plains. As the group entered, the faint scent of cherries and vinegar hung in the air. They passed a sturdy shack marked Canteen and headed toward the storehouse, where a ruddy-faced man greeted them. "They call me Mr. Throckmorton," the man said, shaking Milo's hand enthusiastically. "You've come with the alchemy jug, eh? With that jug, we can make vinegar, salt water, even wine. Be able to preserve it for longer, so we can send jars of pickled pig's feet, eggs, and cherries all over the frontier." Milo politely declined the offer of pickled samples, his expression betraying mild distaste, but Mr. Throckmorton seemed undeterred. As they spoke, a rugged human ranger at a nearby table set down a jar of pickled eggs. His pseudo-dragon companion, perched on his shoulder, chirped in amusement. "I heard about your problem," the ranger said, standing and extending a hand. "Name's Jed Cooper. If those bandits are making off with that jug, I'll help you track them down. Can't let good beer, or pickles, go to waste." Milo shook his hand with a grin, and the party was formed. Milo, Gooseberry, Mælmon, Derek, Ivy, Talia, Jed Cooper, and his pseudo-dragon, Scamp. Together, they left Desperado, determined to recover the stolen alchemy jug and teach the ruffians a lesson they wouldn't forget. The party moved swiftly through the rugged terrain of the wildlands, the sun casting long shadows across the rocky plains as the day wore on. Jed Cooper, the ranger, led the way, his trained eye scanning for tracks while his pseudo-dragon, Scamp, darted ahead in quick, looping flights. "They've been here," Jed said, crouching to examine a set of footprints in the dry soil. "Humans, two half-orcs, and what looks like a blink dog. Fresh too, just a few hours old." Gooseberry rustled, his voice low and thoughtful. "If they've stopped to camp, we might catch up before nightfall." Mælmon, walking a short distance behind, inclined his head. The ruffians are likely using the Alchemy Jug already. If they've discovered its properties, their guard will be down, especially if they've brewed beer. Jed grinned. If they've got that jug, I'd bet my boots they're halfway to drunk by now. He looked to Scamp, who hovered nearby. Go on, Scamp. Find out if we're right. The small dragon chirped in response and zipped off, disappearing into the horizon. The party pressed on in silence, the tension growing with each step. About 10 minutes later, Scamp returned, circling Jed's head and chirping excitedly. Jed chuckled, turning to the others. Smelled beer. Did ya, Scamp? They're about 3 miles that way. The group quickened their pace, careful to avoid being spotted as they approached the ruffians' camp. When they reached a cluster of scraggly trees on the edge of a clearing, they stopped to survey the scene. A group of rough-looking individuals lounged around a makeshift campsite. Several barrels of beer sat open, with mugs scattered across the ground. The Blink dog lay curled up near the fire, its ears twitching as it dozed. Milo crouched low, his voice barely above a whisper. They're drunk, but that dog will cause us trouble if it wakes up.
Mælmon's voice was calm but firm in their minds. I will distract the Blink dog. The rest of you, get ready to strike. The party spread out, taking up positions around the clearing. Milo moved swiftly and silently, climbing onto a low rock that provided a clear vantage point. Gooseberry muttered a spell, and shimmering orbs of dancing lights began to swirl in the air, moving toward the camp. The ruffians stared at the lights, mesmerized. What in the 9 hells is that? One of them muttered, staggering to his feet. Before they could react further, Mælmon stepped into the clearing. His regal presence seemed to fill the space, and his telepathic voice was calm but commanding. You will leave now and abandon this fight, or face the consequences. The Blink dog growled but hesitated under the unicorn's piercing gaze. Finally, it yelped and vanished in a flash of light. Jed loosed an arrow imbued with magic, vines erupting to ensnare one of the thieves. Scamp swooped in, nipping another ruffian on the backside and sending him howling into the bushes. Milo whistled sharply, drawing attention before firing an arrow from the shadows. The confusion among the ruffians grew as the clerics made their move. The clerics turned invisible, reappearing to strike with their caduceus staves before vanishing again. The skirmish ended quickly, with the thieves either subdued or fleeing. Milo retrieved the alchemy jug, holding it up with a grin. Guess it's back to pickled cherries. Jed clapped him on the shoulder. Good work, everyone. These troublemakers won't be causing problems anytime soon, which means no shortage of those tasty pickled sweets. Mælmon stepped forward, his voice warm with approval. You have done a great service today, not only for the people of Desperado, but for all who depend on the Unicorn Parcel Service. Your courage and resourcefulness are commendable, especially the brave young scout and the sagely shrub. Back in Desperado, Mr. Throckmorton greeted them again with open arms. He examined the precious jug with awe, running his fingers over its smooth surface. I can't thank you folks enough, he said, holding out a basket of pickled goods. Milo politely declined, insisting that his pack was full, but Jed accepted the delicacies with a grin. Mælmon stepped forward, presenting Milo with a small golden charm. A gift of Hermes, the unicorn said. Use it in a time of need, and we will come. Milo nodded. Much obliged. And all of you, don't forget the song I taught you. If you meet any travelers from Pygmy Village, they'll recognize you as friends as soon as they hear it. We shall remember, Mælmon replied, a pleasant note resounding in their heads. Milo continued to whistle his Trailblazers tune as he and Gooseberry departed the town of Desperado, setting off for more fantastical adventures in the wildlands.
And so, Milo Pierce and his loyal shrub companion Gooseberry ride off once more, blazing trails and forging friendships across the uncharted wilderness. Until next time, keep your wits sharp, your mind open, and your heart true, and you just might hear the scout's tune carried on the wind.